Hello everyone and welcome to the first episode of a new series known as Final Fantasy I Renaissance, or however you prefer to pronounce that word. If I had an editor, then I would immediately have a description thing that would be like AI voiced cued in to show how it's actually pronounced, combined with a vine boom. It is 2025. But I don't have that, so we're going with my definition, my pronunciation, which is Renaissance. Anywho, this is a mod. Well, technically it isn't a mod. It is built in from the ground up in a platform called Unity, which is the same platform that the Final Fantasy games use for the pixel remasters. And so it is essentially just Final Fantasy I NES version built from the ground up, but different. By the way, if it bothers you that my background is not full screen, I don't know how to fix that problem. It's a problem that I'm having with my current device that I'm trying to fix, but for now I'm just kind of working around it. So what they did here was blue 6 speed, which is good. There's classic mode, which is the original game enhanced with bug fixes. It is the original game built from the ground up that is essentially a one-to-one version. And you can't really get any, there aren't really any additional changes added to it. It's just the original game as you know it. And then Renaissance mode, new jobs, /abilities, bug fixes, and lots more. Which is essentially a whole other game mode, a whole other game itself, but still plays like Final Fantasy I. Oh boy. This is, so first off, I wanted to definitely record my reactions to playing this because I'm gonna react very strongly to a lot of changes, and I want that to be recorded so that I can essentially convey that to other people. You can only catch the excitement of something that you experience once. So first off, we have the menu here, and we see that we have a description that actually tells us what that character is all about, which is something we did not have in the original. That is something that is definitely a welcome change. A sturdy tank and heavy damage dealer who can use the best weapon / armor. Notable talent, something we did not have also. Boosting attacks, intimidating townspeople. One thing I noticed I like is that when you scroll, let's say I press right and go to Thief, I can press left and go back to Warrior. In the original game, you could not do this. Whether you pressed left or right, your character would automatically move in a specific order. So Warrior would move to Thief, Thief would move to Monk, etc. But if you tried to go back to Warrior, no matter which direction you press, you would go towards to Monk. So if you were at Warrior and then you pressed the button and moved to Thief and wanted to go back to Warrior, you would essentially have to go throughout the entire list of 6 fighters in order to be able to get there to Warrior. And that was extremely cumbersome. So now we're going to take a look at the other classes. Thief, a mediocre fighter who steals gold and finds hidden treasures. Notable talents, acquiring gold, finding treasure, running fast. Cool, so from my understanding, I have seen some gameplay footage, but not a lot, and I watched a stream or two. Most of the mod I don't know about. Thief, I believe that their steal and flee options are available now. Monk, a powerful damage dealer capable of hitting many times in a row. Notable talents, combo attacks, limited healing. Awesome. If they can do like what they can do in like Mason Mix for Final Fantasy III, or for or like monks in D&D, which is that they can essentially heal themselves by removing status effects. They can create a level of internal purity by prayer, essentially. Then that's pretty sick. It gives them some more self-sustainability. It's also similar to what Sabin does in Final Fantasy VI with like his mantra and his chakra move. Red Mage, a true jack of all trades, able to use most weapons and armor, as well as black and white magic. Notable talents, enfeebling enemies. Oh, so we got some FF11 stuff going on here. Which is a game, by the way, I recently started playing. White Mage, standard healer, uses white magic, specializes in healing spells. Notable talents, healing allies, killing undead. About what you would expect. Black Mage, offensive magic powerhouse specializing in black magic. Gets bonus accuracy to elemental damage magic. I'm not sure exactly what that means. Notable talents, party intelligence boost. Interesting. And now we finally enter the new characters. We have the Blue Mage, an adept fighter who learns enemy skills as blue magic spells. Notable talents, learning and using monster abilities, skill lore. About what you would expect from a Blue Mage. I quite like their design. They appear to be a cross between Final Fantasy V's Blue Mage and... No, they just look like a slightly different version of Final Fantasy V's Blue Mage. Very nice, paying homage to it without losing its roots. The Blue Mages in like Final Fantasy XI, for example, look very different. Dancer learns dance magic from characters in towns. Takes time to build power. Notable talents, buffing allies, harming enemies. Pretty sick. Geomancer, a weak attacker that calls upon nature to aid the party wherever it goes. Notable talents, terrain magic, avoids environmental damage. Lancer, a powerful damage dealer who specializes in attacks that ignore defense but are slow to execute. Notable talents, jump attacks. Trainer, a mediocre combatant on his own, controls monsters to fight for the party. Notable talents, controlling monsters, axe proficiency. I normally sleep on Beastmasters, but I should reconsider, considering they have the most broken class in Bravely Default 2. Evoker, traverses the astral plane to acquire the aid of powerful beings to be evoked in battle. Notable talents, summoning magic. Time Mage, a spellcaster who specializes in time-based magic and other abilities. Notable talents, teleportation, float, restarting battle. That's super handy. Green Mage, a spellcaster who specializes in protective white magic spells. Notable talents, poison resistance, magical damage inflection. Bard, a support class whose claim to fame is their prowess in the art of song. Notable talents, silence resistance, using harps, hiding from combat. Dark Knight, a damage dealer with limited magic who draws strength from darkness. Notable talents, resist blind, blood weapon, darkness accuracy boost. Whoa, that's sick. Spellblade, oh yeah, I think they added this one recently. Mystic Knight, basically. A sword wielder who specializes in elemental and enemy affinity weapons. Notable, oh my god, dude, so that class that can actually make use of that mechanic. Holy shit. Notable talents, weapon enhancement magic, bladecraft. Archer, a hunter who specializes in range attacks using bows and arrows. Notable talents, crafting magical arrows, poaching, trap detection. That's all of them. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 classes. No samurai like I thought there would. Samurai is a class I've suggested. My recommendation is that samurai they would have a garment that is sort of like the Ronin samurai, where they wear just like a robe, kind of like the samurai in, if you've ever played it, Battle Ogre. And their upgrade would be Shogun. Shogun would be like, they would have the armor of like the samurai, the traditional Shogun armor samurai of like Final Fantasy V. That would be their upgrade. And could use moves like Iainuki that can, like, deal massive damage at the cost of HP. Although I guess that's more of a Dark Knight thing, but whatever. Yeah, each one of these classes apparently has an upgrade. Warrior to Knight, Thief to Ninja, Monk to Black Belt, Red Mage to Red Master, White Mage to White Wizard, sorry, Red Wizard, White Wizard, Black Wizard. I don't know what Blue, I guess Blue Wizard. Dancer? What does Dancer upgrade to? I have, honestly, no idea. Geomancer, no idea. Lancer? Lancer is just Dragoon. But I guess the Lancer is like a weak... See, Final Fantasy XIV has things like Pugilist that can upgrade to Monk. So maybe this is like Lancer upgrading to like Dragoon. Trainer obviously is going to be Beastmaster. Evoker, Summoner. Time Mage, what is... Time Wizard? Green Wizard? What does Bard move up to? Dark Knight? Like... They were already in Knight. Dark Warrior. I have Spellblade to Mystic Knight. Archer to what? I'm very curious, and that alone makes me want to pick those classes just to see what they upgrade to. I have not seen any footage of this game from the class change onward. I believe I've asked about it before, but I have never seen any kind of... I've never heard anything about classes being upgraded, even though I know they can. They keep that secret. It almost feels like a secret you're not supposed to tell anybody, which I think is very interesting. So I'm tempted to find a balance between classes that I know are good in this game, like Warrior and Red Mage, and wanting to try out new things, so I can see more stuff. So, we need a frontliner. I feel like Warrior is a pretty safe bet. But Lancer is not a bad idea. Dark Knight, also not a bad idea. We are going to go with Warrior, though. And... could go with my name, real name, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to go. So you can have it up to 6. Okay, 6 letters. Moony! We'll just do Moon. That's for my secondary character. They'll take 25% of hits. I feel like this is a perfect opportunity for a spot to have, like, a Dark Knight or something, because you don't expect there to be very tanky characters in the second slot, because they only take 25% of damage attacks their way, but that's honestly perfect. Warrior's primary job is going to be able to tank hits and to be able to kill shit, and they get upgraded with White Magic when they upgrade. I know that for sure. Having backup White Magic would be really nice. I kind of want to go a Fizz-heavy team, but man, you have no idea how badly I want to try things like Green Mage and Blue Mage and not so much Dancer, but God, that I can't decide. Oh, I can do empty? Are you kidding? That's so cool! I had no idea. So if I wanted to do a solo game, I could totally do that. This is the best. This is so cool. So I was thinking, even though it's kind of redundant, having a person in your second slot who can also operate as sort of an off-tank is really, really smart. Like people who use 2 warriors in a party, or people whose secondary spot is... Thief isn't great, but the ninja is the second tankiest character in the original game. So having him in the second slot is honestly very good. So it's like, yeah, like having a character who you should put as your frontline character, or you could put as your second line character, being your second line character it's smart, because Lancer and Dark Knight are classes that I feel like a lot of people would want to put in the first class. I've actually seen people put Dark Knight in their first spot, and it's like, is the Dark Knight really as tanky as the Warrior? Probably not, but even if he is, you're cutting down on his HP by using his moves, so your tank class isn't tanking. I feel like in any good party, you want a person who is for sure your de facto tank, and then you want someone who is more of a DPS, but can operate as sort of an off-tank. Like if you're playing FF11, you might want like a Paladin as your tank, whose primary job is to tank stuff rather than hit for damage, but can still hold their own, and also heal, and then you want like your Warrior so that you can berserk and get like good damage DPS, and then have an off-tank if something goes wrong. So we are going to go with Dark Knight as our second pick. You know what? Instead of Mooney, I think I should just name them. I think I'm going to name them all after Final Fantasy characters. I don't really feel like putting my real name, even if it's just my first name, available for just anybody to see. So I think for Warrior, we'll do... Could do gay face like the Warrior in Final Fantasy 1 in a nutshell. But I think as it's a renaissance or a celebration of Final Fantasy 1, I should name him after the original Warrior of Light in FF1. Cetro, I think his name is. In the Memory of Heroes novelization, the fighter is referred to as Zest. Trying to figure out the source. Okay, we are going to go with Seth. That's such a lame name. I remember thinking his name was like super lame. Cetro would have been cool, but that's not it. I don't know where this information is coming from. The official translation, however, is Cetro. Can't get a straight answer, so we're just gonna go with Cetro. Dark Knight. Dare I go with Cecil? He's the only canonical Dark Knight with a name. I guess Leon counts. Cecil's really more known for being a paladin. I am actually gonna do that. No, we'll do Leon. Alright, the third pick is gonna be... I like physical-oriented parties that have just enough support to be able to last without having to rely on a healer. That's why Red Mage is popular, I think. I think I'm going to go with Spellblade, because I was debating on either having Spellblade or Dark Knight before. A sword wielder who specializes in elemental and enemy affinity weapons. Weapon enhanced magic. Look around. The cool thing about Spellblade is, in Final Fantasy V, they wear heavy armor, but I don't know if they do in this game. I'm going to operate an assumption that they don't. They don't look like they wear as heavy armor as, like, Dark Knight or Warrior. So having them in the third slot is, like, ideal. Oops. Spellblade. The only Spellblade in the series, if you count Runic Knight, is, like, Celeste. So I guess we'll do that. That or Steiner. We're gonna use Celeste. We need a female in our party anyway. Even though the hair color does not work at all. That's rather unfortunate. Maybe we can name change. And then the fourth. We don't have any magic, unfortunately. That's not good. I feel like a red mage would be a nice way for us to have what we need, but I want to try out one of the new classes. Let me be sure here. We don't need another warrior here. Thief would be nice. Thief is generally considered to be, like, the worst class in the game, but having this character, especially since they've been buffed, in the fourth slot, instead of having to friggin' take from, like, the second slot, would make them a lot more valuable. The Thief can kind of cut some slack, because people ask a lot of the Thief. They ask of him not only to be able to hit hard and fast, but they also ask him to tank stuff more than the mages. They ask him to tank 25% of the hits, because statistically, most people, when they have a Thief in their party, they have it in the second slot. And it's like, the Thief's like, bro, I didn't ask you to put me in the second slot. I'm a friggin' Thief. Put me in the third or fourth slot. I'm sure they're a lot more valuable. But the real reason I wanted to consider adding a Thief is acquiring extra gold, finding treasure, running fast. Like, that's pretty good. I think you can do stuff with NPCs involving them. I'm not sure what. We don't really need him. Red Mage would be good for reasons I mentioned. Don't need these two. A Blue Mage would be sick, because, like, missing out on all of that, Blue Mage having access to, like, now we have a person that can, like, heal our party. Now we have a person that can, like, use status effects or, like, 1,000 Needles, or maybe not 1,000 Needles, but, like, Goblin Punch or something. A nice Jack of all trades, so, like, instead of the Red Mage, use Blue Mage. That's not a bad idea. Dancer would be able to give us our healing, as well as our buffs. And we really don't have that. No, I'm not really a Geomancer fan. Dragoons are nice, but I'm not going to do all that. No, that would be sick, because there's so much you can summon, like, friggin' summons that can, deal damage. Some summons can heal or buff your party, depending on the game. Time Mage, oh. That's sick, you cannot neglect that. Protective white magic, so like buffs. That's tough, man. So I'm torn between one of these two, because we have tanking, plenty of tanking. We have plenty of between the warrior who can tank really well. I'm assuming that the Dark Knight and the Spellblade can tank well. I do not know that. It's more of an assumption, but it's a safe one. Even if they don't tank well, they probably don't tank. They're probably not like glass cannons or anything. Maybe the Spellblade is, but definitely not the Dark Knight. So we have the tanking role provided. DPS, we have Dark Knight and Spellblade, both of which you can DPS incredibly well. Dark Knight through sacrificing their HP, Spellblade through a turn of prep time required to cast a spell on their blade, which is situational, but that's sort of the similarity between the Dark Knight and the Spellblade, is that they can both, with a resource cost, so to speak, can deal increased damage, so we're plenty good on DPS, and then the warriors can also hit. I don't know if they're going to hit as hard as they can tank. I believe in the original game, their ability to dish out damage is about equal to their ability to tank it, maybe slightly less. You could argue that they're more tank than DPS, but their DPS potential, their ability to deal damage physically, is still pretty good. Arguably the best in the game outside of, like, the Master, the Black Belt, you know, at, like, the highest levels. So, between the Dark Knight, the Spellblade, and the Warrior, our DPS is absolutely, we're banging. we are not neglected on tank or DPS. So now the other three categories that we need are magical healing, magical damage, and utility. I feel like we can get by on magical damage. Having at least some of it to be able to hit enemy weaknesses, or be able to clear out hordes of enemies. For the same reason you don't want to bring 4 warriors in a normal Final Fantasy run, you want to bring 3 warriors and 1 red mage, so you have somebody that can cast Fire 2 on all enemies and clear out hordes, because if you don't, then at most you'll only be able to kill 4 enemies per turn, and that's going to result in you getting stun locked or status effects very quickly, very easily, and that is not good. So magic damage is useful for that reason alone. Magic healing. The thing about healing is you can heal through items and through ins. You don't need to heal if you kill your enemy before you get damaged. Granted, the Dark Knight also takes damage from using his ability. And tanking also helps us mitigate damage. Plus the warrior, once he upgrades to a knight, he will have low-level white magic. So he'll be able to, between items, between heal staff, between inns, between cottages and sleeping bags, and low-level warrior magic that's basically only going to be used for out-of-battle healing. I'd say we're not great on magical healing, but we're doing good. We're doing good enough that we either don't need healing or need very little healing, which is why I say we don't bring a white mage. This isn't my first rodeo. By the way, I've beaten Final Fantasy I, the PSP version, once. I've played a few hours of the GBA version, and I've beaten about 90% of the original NES version, the restored mod. So I'm more or less versed on the game, but there'll be plenty of surprises in this version, of course. So we need some kind of black magic or AoE capacity to hit things with magic. And while we don't need some healing, it would be nice to have some. Utility is another thing we don't have. None of our characters have any real kind of like utility as far as things like being able to buff or debuff allies or enemies respectively, can steal items, can use items for increased effectiveness, etc. We're kind of at the mercy on that one, and that would be nice to have to fall back on. And that's why I was thinking Dancer would be cool. Dancer allows us to get those buffs, allows us to deal AoE. You know what? I think I'm going to go Blue Mage. I thought about it. Because Blue Mage will be able to supply us with that backup healing we need through things like White Wind. If there is no White Wind, I'm sure there's an equivalent or some kind of spell or ability that allows us to heal. They can give us buffs, they can give debuff, like Mighty Guard, debuffs on the enemy potentially. They'll have some kind of other utility, I'm not sure what else. They can also even assist us as far as like physical damage to some extent. We're gonna go with Blue Mage, actually, for sure. And Blue Mage, we're gonna make our Blue Mage probably Strago? We could also do Kalina. Let's do Kalina because we already have a 6th character. Even though this character is humanoid, don't really have anybody else. This looks pretty good. We're going to call the video here. In the next video, my party composition may change as I think about it. But we're going to call it here so that I can take a short break. And in the next video, we will begin our adventure.